Hi everybody, welcome to the kitchen. We're working on yo-yos, Australian sandwich cookies. Now, since our recipe is from Australia and they use the metric system, everything is in grams. So what can we do about that? We could use the scale set for grams, or we could convert it into ounces. So how do we do that? Well, they are 28.375 grams per ounce. So if we want to figure out how much 185 grams of butter is, you can go to our calculator, or if you're brilliant, you can do it in your head. And we're going to type in 185. We're going to divide it by 28.375. 28.375. And that will equal 6.519, etc. grams. So we'll just put 6.5 ounces. Sorry, ounces. 6.5 ounces. So I'm just going to write here 6.50 ounces, or 6.5. Okay? Now, for the icing sugar, we're going to do the same thing. We need 75 divided by 28.375. That equals 2.64. So I'm going to put 2.60 ounces. Our plain flour, all-purpose flour, is 225 divided by, 28.375. That equals 7.92. So I'm going to round that up and just say 8 ounces. So 8 ounces. And 75 grams of custard powder, and since we already did that, that's 2.60 ounces. All right, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. So now we have the ounce measurements for our recipe, and we can weigh those out. And I have here our recipe ingredients. We've got our powdered sugar, the custard powder from Myers of Keswick, our vanilla, all-purpose flour, and our butter. All right, so let me put away the computer, and then I can start working on this recipe. Here we have our scale and our butter. And so this stick is 4 ounces. All right, so we're going to add this bit. Let's see how much that goes. Oh, we need 6.50. So let's use a couple pieces. Let's see if this will make it 6.5. Nope. So let's add one little piece. There we go, 6.49. It's flicking between 6.49 and 6.53. So that's pretty close. So that is our 6.5 ounces of butter. And we're going to let it sit out because we want it to get soft. And next we're going to measure our powdered sugar. So once we put the bowl on the scale, remember you have to touch this button called T-A-R-E over here, tare. Unfortunately, the sticker that was on it was removed, so we press this button and it brings us to 0.00 ounces, okay? And we want to get 2.60 ounces of our powdered sugar. So let's pour this in. In Australia, they call it icing sugar, just so you guys don't get confused. And here in the United States, we call that powdered sugar. So we are going to add 2.60. All right, that's close enough because I don't want it to go over. 2.57, that's pretty darn close. Let's leave it at that. Then we need to measure out the custard and the flour. All right, so here's our custard powder, and I'm trying to get exactly 2.60 custard powder. So we just keep adding a little bit. Oh, I got it over, so no problem. I'll just take some out. That's good. I'm not gonna mess with it anymore. Now, this has kind of a little rosy color to it, so that was a little surprising. All right, so we have that, and put this back on. And we need to do our flour. All right, also plain flour means all-purpose flour. So in Australia, they just call it plain flour. Here it means... Okay, so now we're gonna measure this. We have our bowl at 0, and we need 8 ounces. So luckily I've got a measuring cup inside there so it can make it easy. There we go. Close. And what I need to do after I get all this measured is we're going to sift the flour. So I have to get a piece of parchment paper and the sifter so that I can sift the flour. All right, we'll stop there. Put that away. Here's our flour sifter, our piece of parchment paper. And we're going to add in the custard powder and the flour. So we put all of that in there at the same time and sift it. Okay, so we just use the crank and crank it through. Or since I only have one hand, I can simply shake it up and down, and it's going right through the sifter, since I can't hold it and crank it at the same time. There we go. All right. Everything is sifted. We're ready to go. I've got to get all of the ingredients by the mixer, and then we can start mixing. All right, so we need to cream the butter and icing sugar into light. Add sifted flour and custard powder. So in here we have our butter. This is our stand mixer with the paddle attachment. We're gonna lock it into place. We're gonna turn it on low speed. And see, it's breaking up the butter. So we're gonna mix that until the butter's broken up. And then we can add the powdered sugar and mix the two in. And I have right here our vanilla and the measuring spoons ready to go. I don't pre-measure that. And here is our spatula, our sifted flour. This is a rather simple recipe, not too many ingredients. Cream butter method. So I'm gonna turn that off, use my spatula, scrape off the butter off the paddle, scrape down the sides of the bowl. You wanna do that periodically while you're mixing. Make sure everything's mixed in well. Turn that back on low. All right, so you can see the butter is light now. It's lighter. It's very soft. So now's a good time to add in our powdered sugar. So we're gonna unlock it. We can turn up that. And here's our powdered sugar. And we're just gonna tip it all right in. Okay. Put this back, lock it into place again, and turn it on low. Do not turn it on high. You don't want the sugar to go everywhere. So again, we're going to let that mix, and we're going to occasionally turn it off, scrape down the sides with our with our spatula, cleaning off the paddle. And that will help our ingredients incorporate. There we go. Keep mixing that until it's all, again, light and fluffy and completely mixed in, and then we'll add our vanilla. So here is our 1 teaspoon of vanilla. I'm gonna add that in, and again, I'm gonna keep that bowl and put all the dirty stuff in it. I'm gonna turn this on low and mix all of that in, and periodically scrape down the sides of the bowl and the paddle until it's completely mixed in. Okay, So once that is completely mixed in, then I can add the flour. I have the flour and custard powder now in the bowl, and we're going to pulse it on and off again. All right, and then we'll let it mix. Now again, I don't want these cookies to be tough like rubber, cardboard, so we don't want to overwork that gluten. So make sure you consistently scrape down the sides of the bowl and the paddle attachment to help this mix in evenly, smoothly, quickly, and don't overwork that gluten. Now once that comes together as a dough, we're going to roll it into a log and cut it into small pieces so that we have 24 pieces. All right, so I'm going to stop it again. This time I'm going to raise this up to get everything off the paddle. Make sure there isn't like a hunk of butter stuck inside of it or anything. And scrape down the sides. Now remember, if you don't have this type of stand mixer at home, you could use a hand-held mixer, or you could even just use a wooden spoon and a big bowl. You just have to have strong muscles for that, because you got to keep stirring and mixing it in until it becomes combined. But obviously they did that before they invented the stand mixer, so there we go. Now it's coming together as a dough. We want to stop it. We don't want to overwork it. It's ready to roll into the log and cut into the balls. So I have all the dough out on the parchment paper, and I can use the parchment paper to help me form this into a log and then cut it. So use your hands to do this, but basically you can see what I'm trying to do. I'm using the paper to pull it up and squish the dough together. Eventually I'll form a log and roll it out and then be able to cut it. So I have my log shape forming, and I'm just going to keep rolling that out until it gets a bit thinner, and then that way I can start cutting it. So I'll keep doing this until it's a bit longer. All right, so you can see I rolled the log out to about the length of the parchment paper, and we need to get 24 circles. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it in half. That'll make life easier. So now that I have it in half, I need to get 12 slices out of each one.